Hello, and welcome back to Brightside Parenting, your stop for practical advice and emotional support for special needs parents. So if that fits the bill for you, go ahead and like and subscribe. And today, the very topic we're going to discuss is desperation. I feel like that's a hallmark for us autism parents. It's kind of just like an underlying current that we're all a little desperate. All right, so let's dive right in. Desperate. That word makes me feel so defensive immediately, right? Like, no, I'm not desperate. No, I've got this under control and I can do this. But when it comes right down to it, if I'm honest with myself, I am a desperate person. And I don't remember being this desperate before I got my son's autism diagnosis.
Are you that desperate?
I feel like all of a sudden, I had no idea where to turn. I had no idea what I could do, how to help him, and as a mom, that is not a good feeling. When a mama does not know how to help or take care of her child, watch out. So today I think it's important that we accept the fact that we're desperate. We were given a diagnosis that didn't have a specific cause, and it doesn't have a specific treatment, and so that leaves us desperate and looking for answers.
You're looking at a desperate man, Michael.
As with most things, acceptance is the first step. So let's all just take a moment and accept the fact that we're desperate. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's move on and talk about what this desperation leads to and how we respond to that feeling and what it presents with. One tricky thing about desperation is that it can make you isolate yourself, because all of a sudden you start throwing a pity party thinking that you are the only one in this dire, desperate situation. And sometimes that is the case. There's not anyone around you that exactly understands, and in all reality, no one else can perfectly understand your situation because you're unique.
You are truly unique.
You are the only one experiencing your exact existence in this crazy universe. And so I know that when you feel desperate, one thing that people tend to do is retreat and to go on their own and to isolate themselves.
If you're feeling sad and lonely.
I feel like that's one of the biggest dangers with feeling desperate. And if you reach out, I promise you that you'll find everybody feels desperate in one way or another. And if we can reach out and help each other, we can feel a little less desperate because we're going to share our advice, share our experience, and share, if nothing else, just a little bit of love. Next, I think we really do need to accept that desperation makes us tired. Because when we're desperate, we exert so much energy in trying to find a way to control the situation, in trying to find a solution, in ways of trying to handle just the day-to-day and our sanity. And so when we're desperate, we're exerting so much more energy because we're doing everything with that added oomph, that added emphasis of striving to really figure something out because it means so much to us.
I care a lot.
Desperation leads to exhaustion, and you need to accept that, and you need to understand how to combat that in your life. So think about how desperation is making you exhausted in your life and look for ways to recharge. One thing that's kind of a positive is that desperation can make us teachable. Now think about that for a minute. The times that you have been desperate for something, you're more willing to accept and hear and respond to different answers that are presented. Sometimes when we go along, we're coasting in our lives, we're not as receptive to those things because we don't feel the need to change the status quo, to change what we're doing.
Relax, Pumpkin, I got this.
But if you're unhappy with the status quo or you have a problem right in front of you, you sometimes become more teachable because you're looking for answers, you're looking for ways to help your child.
I need help!
So I would say that this in some ways is a positive. If you're desperate, you're going to be more teachable. You're going to be looking for answers. You just have to look in the right places for answers, because desperation, as much as it makes you teachable, also makes you vulnerable. I have bought a $400 bottle of vitamins. Just thinking about that makes me like cringe inside. I bought a $400 bottle of vitamins that my son didn't even take one tiny bit of. I tried to get it in his mouth and it was so disgusting that he wouldn't even take it. It was a prescription from our pediatrician that we ordered special from like some compounding pharmacy, and it was disgusting. So as much as desperation makes you teachable, it also makes you vulnerable to try things and do things that are ridiculous, like buying $400 bottles of supplements that you've never tasted, because you think it will help your child, you think it will bring some result, you think it'll make the autism go away, you think it'll make the behaviors lessen. So as you go out and look for information, please remember that your desperation makes you vulnerable, and you don't want to be leading with fear. You need to be leading with a sane mind.
Control your emotions.
Yes, you're desperate for answers for your child, but you need to make sure that the things that you're exploring are safe, are cost-effective, and are sustainable long-term. We can also feel a desperation for other people to understand, for other people to see what we're going through. I know it's really hard for me because the world doesn't see Owen the way that I see Owen. And we go out in public places and everything's moving quickly and it can be loud and things are going on. And that's not when Owen shines. That's not when Owen showcases the things that he knows and his abilities. And so the world doesn't see the Owen that I see. And that can be really painful. And that can make us feel desperate. We feel desperate for the world to see a better picture of who our children are. And I think there are ways that we can show others what our lives are more fully like. We cannot be afraid to post on social media, even though our children look different than the norm. It's okay. People aren't going to judge you for the way your child is behaving. And if they do, screw them. I don't care about them. Most people will respond with love and empathy. They may not understand, but if you open that door, that's when they're going to try to understand, and you can explain to them what your life is like and who your child is. A challenge I would issue is the next time that someone asks about your child, don't lead with autism, don't lead with their behaviors, don't lead with their difficulties. Tell people something about their personality.
So you think I'm talented?
Tell them about who your child is. Spread that message, because it's going to be one that's hard for your child to tell and hard for people to see. But if you can open that window for people to see your life with autism, see your child's struggle with autism, they'll begin to understand, and they'll begin to see the amazing and wonderful and powerful things that are your child. Ugh. Okay. Let's move on before I start full waterworks here. So today the bright side of parenting is that desperation is the catalyst for many things, but you can control it. Desperation can do really wonderful things in our lives and not so wonderful things, but you're not alone, right? We're all dealing with this emotion.
High five.
We're desperate. Accept it. Accept that about yourself. It's okay. In fact, in the comments below, if you've ever felt desperate, give me a thumbs up. Because I feel desperate, you feel desperate, and there's a whole lot of other people out there that feel the same way. We're not alone, and even just knowing that other people feel that way can be so helpful. So I hope that today you've thought a little bit more about how desperation plays out in your life and the ways that it's serving you and the ways that it's hurting you. And I hope that you can find a little more control to manage that in your life, because it's going to be there and you're going to have to find a way to live with it. I know that I'm still working on it, so hopefully we can work on it together. But I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you next week. Bye.